Hello, my kin. My name is Kin Ping, but you can call me Kin. And before I start this video off, I just want to say that if you're at all interested in the channel and how it's gonna change or operate over the next year, then I've put out a community post discussing that kind of stuff. But that's all I'll say about that for now. And I'll get right into the video. So this is about if you can beat Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires with Kroxigors only. So I decided to do this challenge as just a short little video to see if it was possible. I wasn't gonna make it a whole series like the Rakath one. I just simply wanted to see if it was possible. So obviously, to do this campaign, you need to do Nakai. He's the most sensible character to do this with, really, when he's giving tons of buffs to both himself and other Kroxigors. Also, another good reason to do this with Nakai is because he is also a Kroxigor. And if you do it with Nakai, you can make it so every single unit you have is a Kroxigor. You don't have any Skinks or any Sauruses or any Slans at all. So as you'll see in this gameplay footage, I completely disband anything that isn't a Kroxigor. So basically, I'm limited to Blessed Kroxigors, Normal Kroxigors, Sacred Kroxigors, Nakai, and Kroxigor Ancients. That's literally the only things I use in this whole campaign. So with Nakai, you start in Cathay, and it's actually a really good start position with the Vassal. I feel like it works perfectly, but your army, that's the problem. With the army taking away all the units that aren't Kroxigors, I'm not sure if you'll be able to win the initial fight. It is a major settlement and it has a okay garrison and army, which I just don't think you can do on the first turn. So you'll see me go to the other settlement and take that one first, because that's an easy win with the Kroxigors you have. Now, Nakai's campaign is perfect because while his technologies aren't really that good, it's just giving you extra income and replenishment rate, basically. His rights are really good. He has one right in particular that buffs Kroxigors an insane amount, and his skill tree buffs Kroxigors really well as well. So his starting army starts with 3 units, and obviously that's enough to get started. And also a bonus with Nakai, you only need to upgrade his main horde settlement once to get basic Kroxigors. I decided to go with the strategy of not spending any growth points until I had enough to build the main building, because that way I only needed to wait, I can't remember how many turns it was, but I needed to wait about 5 turns before I could start recruiting them. And once you start recruiting them, because you have no other units and you have no heroes to worry about, eventually you get a good 10 units of Kroxigors. They take a while to recruit, but it's really worth it. And of course, the biggest thing about Nakai's campaign is the Defenders of the Great Plan. And so, when you take a settlement, you can choose between one of the 3 temples of the old ones. With these 3, they all give different buffs, all which are really, really good. But the one to go down to do this campaign is Quetzal. I think I'm saying that right. But the Quetzal one is all about melee buffs. And that gives you a shit ton of buffs for your Kroxigors until they are just insanely OP. It is really good. In my campaign, when I took a lot of Cathay, I made every single settlement a Quetzal settlement. Every single one, until I had completely maxed it out. Only then did I decide to go down into the other temples and see which one of those 2 fitted me better. But the Quetzal one is by far the one that you want to basically complete first. It doesn't take long to do at all to completely get it done. I'm not sure how many settlements you need exactly, but it's not much as long as you're getting a couple of major settlements as well. So the auto resolves are really strong. I found I was not playing many battles at all. I played very few, and it worked out fine. I mean, I probably should have played some to get less casualties, but it was very easy. So I'll go through the turns and highlight some important things as we go through. At the end, I'll tell you if it's fun, if it's viable, if it's a campaign you should consider doing, basically. So something that I decided to do with Nakai was to declare war on factions to get on the good side of the Cathayan factions. Now, this is not hard at all, as Nakai, I feel like you can become allies with Cathay really easily, and that allows you to take more land, not having to worry about Miao Ying and Zhao. It just makes things a lot easier. You can focus on taking out Lokir and one other Cathayan faction, and then you can just go over to Lustria and help out Gorok and stuff like that.
Agreed.
So by turn 14, I actually had around about 16 units of normal Kroxigors in Nakai's army, and I'd taken a good 3 settlements for the defenders of the old plan. The campaign is really slow at the start when you're actually trying to take the first settlement, but when you get started, it's an absolute steamroll. Because, like I said before, the Kroxigors have insane auto-resolve, but you need to be careful. The auto-resolve against Dark Elves is a little bit iffy because of the armor-piercing damage, but they got good auto-resolve, so you can kind of steamroll, and you find yourself not doing much in turns, but I think that's mainly a Horde faction mechanic anyway. This campaign, though it is, I guess, yeah, it's a fun Horde campaign, but if you don't like Horde campaigns, it's totally not for you, because you will literally find yourself going through the turns in like a minute. At least I did at the very least, because I knew what I was doing. There really wasn't much to manage in the Horde. Even when I got another Horde going, there really wasn't much to manage. It wasn't a hard campaign at all. There was almost no like threat of actually losing or being destroyed or having the defenders of the great plan being destroyed at all. It's a really safe campaign, and you don't need to worry about much. So I probably could have benefited from putting the difficulty up, but I decided to keep it on normal because I'm not sure what difficulties people play on, and I wanted to get a good gauge. But I can't imagine it's that more difficult if you put on high difficulties. The battles you'll probably have to play more of. But Nakai is just overall a really strong faction, I feel, because you only really need to worry about your army. I mean, obviously, I'm not an expert at Horde factions. I don't know how to perfectly play them, but this was rather easy. I found from about turn 18 to turn 40, there really wasn't much happening. I was just steamrolling Lokir and the orcs that had been around. I also noticed in my campaign Skaven just weren't a thing. They must have been taken out really, really early in the campaign because I didn't encounter them at all. But I found it was really easy, and that's that's the bottom line of this campaign. It is really, really, really easy once you get past the first like 5 turns. But once you get past those turns, and if you're good with Cathay, you should be absolutely fine. I mean, you fight some Pirate Coast, or Vampire Coast, sorry. You fight one Cathay faction, you fight Lokir, then you fight some Orcs, and then you're fine, as long as you don't go to war with Cathay, which you can totally do. Because it's so early in the campaign, it's probably not much of a threat. But then you can also go over to Lustria. Going over to Lustria is good relationships with the other lizard men. I think you can even try and confederate them. And after a while, after roughly like maybe 60 turns, which you're going through really quickly, the campaign does start to get pretty boring. That could just be Horde campaigns, or the simple fact that I'm only using like 3 different units and it's all the same stuff. But it does get boring. I think I would recommend the campaign just to see that it's viable, to see that you can actually do a whole Doomstack campaign and that it will work. But I don't think if you're looking for a campaign with lots of depth and that you can take your time with, I mean, this probably isn't the campaign for you. This is a pretty quick, if you want to take over the whole world, and just be strong, I think this is the campaign for you. It can be challenging, but if you play it right, it is the easiest thing ever. I found I was getting kind of bored of it. That's why I went over to Lustria. Going over to Lustria is a really good idea, because there you can go take on Marcus Wolfheart and Rakarth and Skaven if there's still some left. Or you could go towards Helm and Gorst. It's hard doing that because you can't really get military access because you're a Horde faction. So you need to be a little careful with that kind of stuff. I usually play my campaigns really diplomatic. that's why I've become friends with Cathay and then gone over to the other side of the world. But you know, it's a good campaign. The battles can be fun. I found one of the battles I did, I got absolutely melted by the Dark Elves. If your enemy has armor piercing, you're probably not going to do that well. But the Kroxigors are really strong, that they can just do a whole lot of damage, and you'll be able to bash your way through most things fine, really. Also, I'm not sure if this is like a widely thought thing in the Warhammer community, but I found the normal Kroxigors to be a lot more efficient in what they did than the Sacred Kroxigors. I'm not exactly sure why, but both in auto-resolve and in the actual battle, the Kroxigors, the normal ones, were just proving themselves a lot more. The Sacred Kroxigors were just melting a lot quicker and weren't putting out as much damage, even though I think they're meant to be better. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that. If you think of playing this campaign, I would suggest recruiting most your army being normal Kroxigors, because I feel like they are a little bit stronger. But yeah, that's mainly it. If you want to play this campaign, go for it. Nakai is an awesome character, and having an army of Kroxigors is freaking awesome. I just think that it can get boring, but to answer you guys' question, you can totally beat Warhammer 3 with Kroxigors only. It was a little bit easier than I thought it was. I basically sat down and played this campaign in about 3 hours and just steamrolled everything because, you know, it's a horde campaign. You don't need to focus on much. But yeah, that's it. I hope this made you want to play a Nakai campaign, or was just interesting at the very least to you guys. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, my kin.